Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting for April the 9th, 2013. Roll call.
Sue Licio present.
Bob Pamon present.
And Nick Dahlheimer present. 1.2, I will make notice that this meeting is being tape recorded. 1.3, Chairman's additions or deletions. We'll be adding 3.12.1. Special one-day license. 1.4, review approved meeting minutes. March 26, 2013.
I make a motion we approve the meeting minutes for March 26, 2013.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. 2.1, Fire Department swearing in and pinning. Fire Chief Don Klein for the swearing in and pinning of John Elliott, on-call Deputy Fire Chief, and Ben Nimera, full-time firefighter EMT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, you're welcome.
Before I invite these gentlemen up to the tent, I'd like to say a little bit. Both of these gentlemen have lived in this community for a long time. John, the new deputy chief here, came into the fire department right out of high school. He has been a member going on 27 years now. He's been a valuable member of the department. He's worked his way up through the ranks, and I have a lot of confidence in John and my other current deputy chief, Dave Roy, in helping me lead this department. And as I get ready for my retirement here in the next year, I'm looking forward to these gentlemen helping keep the department going beyond that point. Ben is also has lived in the community for a long time. He's a graduate of North Middlesex Regional High School, and he came on the department about 6 years ago, just after I took over as chief here. And I'll have to say that him and his brother have astounded me in the dedication that they have put into this department as a call firefighter, and the choice of moving on to become a career firefighter and choosing Townsend to be that place. I have high hopes, and I think you'll see that probably into the future you will see him as one of the future leaders of this organization. With that being said, I'd like to invite John Elliott up. And unfortunately, John's wife couldn't be here tonight. She wasn't feeling well, so he's asked his brother Bill to pin him. Bill, if you want to join us. Thank you, John. And Ben has asked his mother to pin him tonight. If I can invite Joy up. And now I'll turn it over to Sue for the swearing in.
Thank you. State your name and your position when it comes up, one at a time, please. Raise your right hand. I, John Elliott, Ben Nimera, do solemnly affirm that I will do my duty as a deputy on-call fire chief
Doing my duty as a full-time firefighter
to the town of Townsend,
for the town of Townsend,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
to serve my commanding officers
to serve my commanding officers
with respect and dignity,
with respect and dignity,
to serve the citizens of the town of Townsend
to serve the citizens of the town of Townsend
with compassion,
with compassion,
courage,
courage,
and integrity.
and integrity.
and to uphold the rules and regulations
to uphold the rules and regulations
of the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth
of the Constitution and laws of this Commonwealth
and the town of Townsend.
and the town of Townsend.
This I do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
This I do under the pains and penalties of perjury.
Congratulations.
Thank you for your service and dedication.
Thank you.
First order.
Congratulations.
Enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Chalk it up to nerves.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. You provoked a lot of stuff, Bob.
And
And thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay,
Nick, do you want to take, since the chief is here, take 3-2?
okay, that
That's
seems
the next
fairly,
item.
fairly quick. Approve write-offs of ambulance billings.
What you have before you tonight is the write-offs from 2010. These are, have been deemed uncollectible.
Pretty straightforward. We do this every year.
Yeah, we,
Yep.
Kim has already looked it over, and
Yep. Basically uncollectibles.
Hey,
Okay. I make a motion, we approve the write-offs of the ambulance billings. Do we need an amount?
You can just make reference to
The
the,
amount of $27,385.61.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 3.1. Hey, where'd Colin go? Roger, go bring him back.
They left us.
I have a memo in the packet with the revised agenda relative to this item. Can I give you this, Roger?
Is that boss?
Can I give you this?
Yeah, sure, thanks. Appreciate it.
Copies for the committee members.
Thank you.
Give to them.
share.
Oh, I'm supposed to share?
Don't be that kind of a committee member, Roger.
They named streets after me, one way.
Colin, was there interesting capital things going on this week?
What's that?
Was there interesting things happening with the capital planning committee this week?
They got a little more interesting
Oh,
with this memo, very positive way. We had been trying to work with making the capital plan work so that we can get the financial software, but this, kind of changes everything, so.
Yeah,
In a positive way.
I had sent Andy an email outlining we were meeting with Ed Kukla and.
Can you speak a little louder, please?
I had sent Andy an email. We had met with Ed Kukla last Thursday, and we're meeting with the fire chief this Thursday to talk about moving some things over. I don't know if he shared that with you, but this will also help move everything up, so.
Yeah, Ed when we met with Ed last week, the next he had 2 trucks that were next on the plan, and he agreed to move those to next year. And we were meeting with the fire chief to basically ask the same thing for some of his projects so that we could get the financial software onto the plan.
So what we're trying to do is move some things off of this year's plan and over to next year so that things below them on the priority list will move up, including the software. But it sounds to me like with the overlay account that you will have enough funding. Is that correct, that you have enough for the full 60,000?
Yeah, that's correct. I can give a little background for everybody. The assessors carry what's called an overlay account. That's to pay for abatements in tax bills in any given year. Those accounts typically stay in effect and somewhat active for several years after the close of the fiscal year. Once there's nothing left to abate out of a particular fiscal year, the assessors can vote to release that overlay amount to what's known as the overlay surplus. It then becomes available for appropriation for any lawful purpose. Just in the last couple of days, Kathy Rosbach and Kim Fales, excuse me, were going through their numbers, through their processes, identified some accounts that should properly be in tax title, but they're not reflected that way on the balance sheet. Once we move those to tax title, it frees up the overlay for those particular fiscal years. So this goes back to fiscal year 2006 and up through 2010, fiscal year 10. And that would be, assuming that we can release all of that, and we'll have that done in the next few days. But that would release enough money that we could afford to do the software in a single purchase, upfront purchase. We had talked about doing a 3-year or 5-year or something like that. This would allow us the opportunity to purchase it all in a single purchase. So beneficial on a number of levels. It squares away some tax title things. It gets some overlay off the books, and it allows us to move forward with this purchase. I also spoke with also worked with Mark Mercurio to talk and look at different ways that we could address the West Townsend Reading Room funding. What we've come up with, and it's laid out in the memo, is a recommendation that we take $13,000 from the West Townsend Reading Room accounts, and frankly, I rounded it off a little too much, $13,430 from the West Townsend Reading Room accounts, and they have about $23,500 available now. So we take that $13,430, $10,000 out of capital stabilization. That would fund that siding and window replacement project. And then they also identified some other things that are in the pipeline for them, the most pressing being the handicap ramp. We don't have a firm estimate at this time. We're waiting for that from Neshoba Tech. We think it's going to be somewhere around $5,000. We can do that out of the operating budget for facilities maintenance, thereby not hitting their account further for that expenditure. And that would leave them still with a fair amount of money to do the floors and other improvements that they're trying to do over there.
What's their annual, Andy, what's their annual projected revenue for rentals? Does it vary from year to year, or has it been pretty stable?
It's been fairly stable, around 5,000, give or take a few hundred. Their hope is that once the building is in better shape, more accessible, more attractive, that they'll be able to generate a little bit more interest in the building. And then the final thing that I mentioned in the memo, and I'm kind of going out of order, so I apologize for that. But that's the building inspector's vehicle, and we talked at length last week about various ways to address that need for a vehicle for the inspector. We talked about a used vehicle, reducing the capital appropriation and purchasing a used vehicle. He had expressed some frustration as far as the vehicle and the questions about the vehicle that tend to come up every couple of years. So in talking with him over the last few days, we started to look at whether we'd be better off just giving him a stipend in order to compensate him for the use of his own vehicle. And he was amenable to that. I think he mentioned that at the meeting 2 weeks ago. That was how he was compensated when he first came to work here. And so what we've come up with is a stipend in the amount of $4,500 a year that would compensate him for the unlimited use of his personal vehicle for business purposes. I think it's a fair amount, a fair number. It eliminates the need to purchase a vehicle, eliminates that capital investment, removes the vehicle and the costs associated with it from our operating budget, removes the vehicle from the fleet. We've made an effort over the last couple of years to try to eliminate vehicles where we can, where it makes sense, and it gives us budget certainty. We would, if we did strict reimbursement, we don't know year to year what gas is going to be or what the mileage reimbursement rate is going to be. We don't know necessarily what his mileage is going to be. So this is a way to kind of hit the middle and address a number of areas for us, and also treat him fairly as well. So I think it works pretty well. I think it addresses some of the concerns that we had when we talked a couple of weeks ago, and hopefully will allow the capital committee to still fund the projects that they've identified as being most pressing.
Hey, where would that $4,500 a year come from?
Where did the number come from?
We know where we fund it from.
It would come out of his operating budget.
Okay.
Right now, he's got two line items that are vehicle-related. One is vehicle supplies, and the other is vehicle repairs, and it comes up to about that amount.
How much a year have we usually spent repairing that thing?
It's increasing every year. Last year, he needed a transfer towards the end of the year in order to fund some repairs. There was an alternator repair, I think some tires, a couple of other things. So
Didn't you say something like 1,500 or something like that?
yeah, I think last year it was higher than that, but I think on average it's about 1,500. So, in terms of the operating budget, it's kind of a wash to do this versus what we've been funding.
Okay, so, may I? So basically that means the request that he had submitted to capital planning is no longer necessary.
Correct.
Okay,
So that
that's
25,
one thing off of the list.
that 25,000 comes off.
The finance software sounds like it's off the list.
Is, well, on the list, but we've identified another funding source. Yep.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So in terms of a capital planning request, it's off of the capital planning
It'll be done.
request
Yep.
list. So that would free up, well, actually,
25.
it was requested to be 12 for the year, right? Okay, so that
Right.
takes that 12 request. So what was the building inspector's request, how much?
25,000.
25.
25, so that's 25 off, and then another 12 off. Ooh, I'm liking this. And 13 because they can fund some of theirs.
Correct.
The
Wow.
building
So we would
commissioner
need-
agreed to move, I mean, the highway superintendent, like Colin said, moved his 2 trucks up. So the next thing that would be funded would be the vehicle extraction exhaust system. And that was a higher priority for him.
So how much was that?
About 30,000.
So is there enough to fund that now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is that what you would recommend?
yeah.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
he requested they be moved forward, so that's why it would slide.
And what about if the fire chief,
That doesn't even come into play under this scenario.
Yeah, we don't need to
He
meet
would,
with.
we wouldn't have to meet, he would still get his the project, the fireboxes.
do we have a quasi consensus here? Is that what I get?
Well, the only thing is, I know the last time you were talking about the building inspector's vehicle, someone here expressed concern about it being a little bit of a short-term solution. I mean, his vehicle that he has now is a 2000, and now it's 2013. So after 13 years of spending $4,500 a year, obviously that far exceeds the purchase price of a new vehicle, so you have to just weigh that in your consideration.
I would prefer not to purchase a vehicle for that. I mean, you know, I think we need vehicles for police and fire, obviously, but we just don't have a big enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's part of the other thing too, and, you know, me personally, I was okay with the car, but then, of course, then there's the discussion about paying for the insurance, paying for the fuel, paying for the repairs, so it's not just the straight up cost of the car itself, it's, you know, all these other costs that we're eliminating too, so it's like, I mean, it's pretty close in the neighborhood.
The other concern, to tell you the truth, is liability outside of the town. If we were to continue the purchase of a vehicle, and that vehicle were to not be parked here all the time, I was told, and I don't know if this is accurate or not, but I was told that a person could be in an accident anywhere, you know, heading home off time or whatever, and or just anywhere during work time, and that if something happened, workers' comp would play a part. I mean, something similar to that happened to my son when he was driving a company vehicle. You know, he hit an ice patch and skidded into a pole and was out of work for a while, and workers' comp covered that because it was his work truck. So I just, you know, concern about liability on top of, you know, having to maintain a car. And plus, he'll be able to write off the non-reimbursable expense
Well,
too.
I think that this also doesn't take away the option of, well, looking at it again in a couple of years and, you know, doesn't say
Yeah,
we
if-
can't buy him a car in a couple of years, if that's what we decide
If
then.
we have enough money to do that, I suppose. Maybe the list will get shorter.
I personally support this proposal because number one, he agrees to it, and it obviously saves the town a lot of money by not having to purchase a vehicle. So I would wholeheartedly support the stipend in the amount of $4,500 a year. Getting back, I have one question, Andy. I noticed there's a discrepancy between the capital planning amount for the financial management software. They have a total of $48,000, and the figure you threw up was $60,000. And it has a 5-year total on the capital planning was $48,000.
I'll probably spun off into 19, fiscal 19.
Well, no, it says a 5-year
Well, I mean, the only-
total. There's
it
4
only-
years listed,
it
but
may
it
have gone
says
into-
5-year total, $48,000. It says 5-year total.
Yeah, there are only 4 years reflected on that. The
Maybe
fifth year would be
this block of
2019.
5 years. For this block, not this block, you see what I mean? If
Yeah,
there was a-
I was going by the 5-year total.
But I think of 14 through 18.
Okay, all right. I see what you're saying. We're spreading the 12 over
It was gonna be over
1 year
5 years.
beyond.
But only
I
80%
just wanted
of the
to make
cost
sure
is-
about When I saw a 5-year total, I'm thinking, where's the other 12,000?
No, that's our worksheet, that's not
Yeah.
what's on the plans that we submitted. Appreciate all this work, it makes our job a lot easier. The only problem is that we just realized we're on the agenda this morning, so we're not posted, so we can't make a decision. You know, we can listen to what you have to say, so we're not.
Oh, we weren't, I don't think we were asking for a decision
Okay,
just yet,
we're
because I know you
meeting
have other
Thursday,
stuff to
so
do.
we can go over everything and then we submit it.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time to finalize things.
Cool, cool.
Good
negotiations. Here we go. Okay, anything else on that?
Nothing from me.
We got that squared away. All right. 3.3, Conservation Agent, Review of Consolidated Job Description.
We'd first talked about this last year when we were hearing the appeals under the classification plan, and we had a situation where Leslie Gabrilsko holds two different positions within the Conservation Department. She holds the position of Administrative Assistant and the position of Conservation Agent. They've had trouble historically filling the agent position as a part-time position. And so when we talked about it this time last year, the board directed me to take a look at this and see what we can do to maybe clean this up a little bit. And so what I've done, I've got a revised job description in front of you that rolls the administrative assistant duties into the conservation agent job description. Nothing has been taken out of the agent description. The administrative duties have been added into it. And then we would just have a single position of conservation agent at the grade 6 that it's currently at, step that it is currently at.
So it's not going up a step or changing any of that?
It's not, nope. And this could go, the thinking is that this would go into effect on July 1. If the board wanted to, you could implement it now. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. It's a wash financially, but it does clean up a kind of messy personnel situation that we have. And if at some point in the future, if we need to, we can always split the position again. Nothing locks us into this for eternity.
Okay, need a motion?
I'm
Any questions?
not sure I understand the money part of it.
Oh, yeah, there's another piece to the finance, and I'm glad you brought that up, Sue.
I don't have that 3.
Last fall, when we were figuring out how to close that budget deficit that we had as a result of the failed override, we cut funding by 5 hours a week for the conservation agent, cut the funding out of the operating budget. We made it up under the Wetlands Protection Act filing fees. So for Leslie, there was no loss in wages, but for the town, there was a savings of a little over $5,000, shifting from operating to the Wetlands Protection Act. The fees that they bring in for the Wetlands Protection Act can only be used for Wetlands Protection Act related activities. So by taking 5 hours a week, we can clearly argue that it is solely for Wetlands Protection Act, not related to land management or land acquisition or things like that. So there is still that savings, and that will stay in effect going forward.
So both the positions now currently are both benefited?
Well, if we had two different people, they would both be benefited. One's a 25-hour position, the other's a 20-hour position. So they're both eligible for benefits. In this by combining them, we would have just a single benefited position.
At the regular 40 hours.
Yes.
Logistically, we have the ability to combine?
Yeah, you're really just consolidating positions, reclassifying two positions into a single position. And there's no change in the classification grades.
Sounds good to me.
Anyway.
So it
The
looks like
commission did-
Conservation Commission is,
Yeah, they met the other night and talked about it last week, and they were in support of it. They've been supportive of the concept all the way along, so,
okay.
So we're saving $5,200, $5,300 this year?
yes, in fiscal 14.
Well, I like saving money.
And that savings would be there whether we consolidated the positions or not.
Oh, all right.
But it is something that we'll carry forward.
Okay. Anybody?
Motion? Make a motion, we approved the consolidated job description for conservation agent, effective, that will become effective July 1st, 2013.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.4, purchase and sale agreement. Vote to sign purchase and sale agreement for acquisition of property on Highland Street.
This is the Genova property that was discussed last town meeting. Leslie Gabrilska has been working with our town council and with the Genovas to work everything out. And we're at a point now where we have a purchase and sale agreement that is agreeable to both parties. In fact, has already been signed by the Genovas, the three members that have an ownership interest in that property. Purchase price is $50,000. That's what we stated at town meeting last year. So just looking for the board to make a motion to sign and then to execute the signatures.
Just want to ask the question, there's been a certified appraisal?
Yes. Yes, there was an appraisal done last fall. I think it was done prior to town meeting.
Okay, I just want to cover the bases.
Yep.
How much tax revenue will we be losing by taking it off the tax rolls?
It's fairly minimal because it's backland. It's not
Not
an
buildable?
easily developable parcel. You'd actually have to either acquire additional adjacent land or tear down the existing house on the front of the lot in order to build a road to create frontage. So the backland doesn't have a lot of value. That's why the appraisal came in
At
where it
50,000
did,
for 30
yeah.
acres?
What's the oddball reason I thought it was $1,200 per unbuildable acre-ish? I don't know.
I forget. I think there is a factor, but I don't recall what it is.
Andrea?
I would have thought that the value, when you talk about breaking it away as the back lot, yes, with it being landlocked, I can see how it would have little or no value, or, by comparison. But it would seem to me if you had a nice house on 15 acres, or a house on an acre and a half, it would have an extreme value in the assessment of the whole property before you broke that amount away.
It would increase the value somewhat, but it's a diminishing escalation.
Well, I think one of that sort of stuff, I think the value, is weighted heavily with the hunk with the house, meaning the house is now in the way, and of course, in the town, it has it separately assessed already. Additional unbuildable land. And it's weird how the appraisers break it up.
But the appraisal came in at 50,000, correct?
Correct.
That's what did.
Correct.
So we're not paying more than it's appraised for.
No. But when they look at the value, they're looking at the highest and best use. That in a residential district is single-family development. And where the house is in the way, it restricts that highest, or
So-
diminishes that use.
I'm just thinking, usually when you're near conservation land or surrounded by conservation land, it helps the value of your property go up
Mhm.
because you're sure that you're going to have that buffer zone. So if anything, whatever we might be losing in revenue from that parcel, I think you would probably more than make up for in the increase in value of the.
Yeah, I was just
The
curious
lots with
what,
the house.
what the, what the taxes were on
But let's not
that
tell
particular
anybody.
Well, I don't know, the tax rate's what, $18 per thousand times 50?
Yeah.
There you go.
Any other questions? We need a motion now? Any more questions?
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve and sign the purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of property on Highland Street as listed.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.5, sign warrants for April 30th, 2013, town election and U.S. Senate primary elections. Votes may be taken. Andy, anybody?
Just a fairly routine ministerial act here to allow us to post the warrants for the double election that will be held on April 30th for U.S. Senate primary and our local election, our normal local election, or our local election would normally be a week earlier. We combined them in order to save some money and hopefully get a little better turnout on the local election. So both will take place on the 30th of April. We do two separate warrants for the elections.
Just a reminder to people at home, tomorrow night we will be open in the clerk's office until 8 o'clock for people who wish to change their party registration or register to vote for both of those elections.
When's the last day to register to vote for those?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
So we'll be open from 9 to 8.
So you wouldn't by chance, off the cuff, what did we get for a turnout in the last primary election?
The last primary or the town election?
Last primary.
I don't know.
I'm just curious, because we'll look at this.
One in September. It wasn't a great turnout. We usually get around 1,200 people for our local town elections, so we're hoping 1,500 or so.
It always depends
So
on
we'll
who's
see.
running too.
Depends on the weather.
What's the.
Depends on a lot of stuff,
Yeah. Who's running?
but at least the hope's there.
Right, well, we have the Democratic Party running, and Galvin's been on TV advertising, so,
Oh, we like good turnouts.
yes, we do.
Okay. Motion to sign?
Make a motion, we sign the warrants for April 30th, 2013 town election and U.S. Senate primary elections.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.6, oh, gifts. Accept a gift of a copy or printer from Daniel Jones of Innovate Design to the Townsend Public Library.
Mr. Jones sent out an email to a number of communities in the area and nonprofit operations, making available a copier that his company, Innovate, had available, and I believe they're moving, and they didn't want to bring it with them. And it is it's an 8-year-old machine, but it doesn't have a lot of wear and tear on it. And
Only driven on Sundays?
only driven on Sundays by a little old lady on her way to church. And so Stacy Schottler was the first to respond, and he delivered it to her last week.
Oh,
So it's in good shape, and Melissa Herman looked at it and gave it a once-over and gave it the thumbs up. So it seemed like too good an offer to pass up. And I know, Nick, that you have a penchant for free things.
Hey, the rule is if it's free, take it.
Nick likes.
Only if we can use it, because I got printers in my house that don't work, and they're in the
I was just
basement.
gonna say, that sounds a little bit like hoarding, but.
No, there's not enough stuff. My wife keeps an eye on that. Keep that getting out of control.
In the mouth.
So we should have a motion just to accept the gift.
I make a motion, we accept the gift of a copier/printer from Daniel Jones of N of 8 Design to the Townsend Public Library.
With thanks, second.
A motion's been made and seconded with thanks. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Mr. Jones.
Okay, 3.7, approval of Chapter 90 reimbursement request for the following. $5,567.92 for repairs at the intersection of North End Road and Brookline Road, and $4,827.90 for the purchase of a plate compactor.
The cents always get me. 92 cents.
It is what it is. It's tax and stuff.
Okay. Make a motion, we approve Chapter 90 disbursement request for the following. $5,567.92 for repairs at the intersection of North End Road and Brookline Road, and the amount of $4,827.90 for the purchase of a plate compactor.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.8, charter amendments and financial management review. Continuation of discussion of charter amendments, including conversion of elected positions to appointed.
We received wording today from council on this item. It's in front of you in the information that I handed out tonight, item 3.9. There are two options for optional approaches, and the process that we've been talking about for the last several weeks is the second option on the page. It starts towards the bottom of the page. It's a special act process. I haven't amended the warrant article or the warrant yet to reflect this, but we would substitute this language if the board wants to go forward with this change.
See one listed here for 3.8.
I think I'm just under
The backup for this.
In what I gave you tonight, actually, I put the wrong number on it.
Oh, the one that says 3.9?
Yeah. So there's two processes that can be followed. One is the home rule process. That's the process that we've been talking about, and that starts at towards the bottom of the page, the paragraph that starts with if a special act amendment is utilized, and goes on from there.
Could one of you read that so that the people at home know what it is you're looking at?
I'll read the whole thing. Andy, you want me to read the whole?
Just the section that you're gonna.
Yeah, I think you can read the, where it says the article could take the following form
Okay.
at the bottom.
All right. The article could take the following form. To see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to petition the general court for special legislation in the form set forth below, amending the town charter to change the elected tax collector position to a town collector position appointed by the Board of Selectmen. Provided, however, that the general court may make clerical or editorial changes of form only to the bill, unless the Board of Selectmen approves amendments to the bill before the enactment by the general court, and that the Board of Selectmen is authorized to approve amendments which shall be within the scope of the general public objectives of the position. An act relative to the town of Townsend, Section 1. The Townsend Home Rule Charter, which is on file with the Office of the Archivist of the Commonwealth, as provided in Section 12, Chapter 43B of the General Laws, is hereby amended, striking out the words tax collector in Section 3(1)A. Section 2, Section 3(5) of the Charter is hereby further amended by striking out its entirely Section 3.5 and renumbering the remaining sections of Article 3 accordingly. Section 3, Section 3.2D of the Charter is amended by inserting the words before the word constables, the word town collector. Section 4, Section 8(6)B of said charter is amended by striking out the text thereof and inserting in its place the following. Any elected incumbent serving at the time a charter amendment changing the position from elected to appointed becomes effective shall continue to hold said office and perform the duties thereof until the expiration of the term for which the said individual was elected or sooner vacating such office, provided, however, that if such amendment is subject to the approval of the voters of the town prior to taking effect, any individual elected to an office or board at the same election at which a charter amendment changing the manner of selection for said office is considered shall hold office and perform the duties thereof only until an appointment to said office is otherwise made. Section 5, this act shall take effect upon passage.
And that means upon passage by the general court.
Correct.
So this is to go to the general court.
Right. Town meeting, if town meeting approves it by a majority vote, it would be sent off to the general court through our senator and representative, and then if positively acted upon by the general court, would go into effect at that time.
So that's why we're making that stipulation about the timing, because we're not sure how quickly that process would go through.
Correct.
Okay, so just to make sure that if it were after the next election, that person would stay in until, okay. So what are we moving then?
So if that is, if the board, and there's really no formal action the board needs to take tonight, but it's related to the next item on the agenda as well, 3.9, which is the draft warrant. I can add that to the warrant if the board still wants to move forward with this. We'll be bringing the final version of the warrant before you at the next meeting for signature and then posting.
I would like to see this added, because I think the town should consider it.
You need a formal
think
motion on
it's
that?
good to
I
go
don't think we
before the
need to,
town.
but I think we give Andy direction to put it on
Yeah.
the warrant.
You don't need a, just
So directed.
direct the town administrator to,
Suppose we can move it.
huh?
However you want to do it.
I make a motion, we direct the town administrator to place the article being discussed on the annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.9, annual town meeting. Review and discussion of draft warrant. Oh, hey, Andy, before we rock and roll too much, is the moderator okay with this? Because now we're doing the whole special and annual all in one bite?
Yeah, we consolidated the two town meetings into a single warrant, a single town meeting, known as the annual town meeting. We typically in the past have done the annual at 7 o'clock and then at 7:05 or 7:15 adjourned and gone to a special.
And then dissolved and returned.
And then dissolved and returned to the annual. I talked to the moderator about it. He doesn't have any quarrel with the approach. I think he'd be quick to tell you he's in favor of things that move it along. Doesn't like to get unnecessarily bogged down in process.
Yes, we do. We do have an efficient moderator.
Yeah. So we've rolled everything that is normally in the special town meeting, and that's usually snow and ice deficit, prior year bills, prior year budget items. We've rolled that all into the annual warrant, and we've broken it up. We've got headings in there that cluster similar items together. The first section being appointments and reports, which is the appointment of officers by the Board of Selectmen. Then the hearing of reports and the appointment of the Tucker Fund members. We then go into financial items relative to fiscal year 2013. There you find snow and ice, you find prior year bills, because we're appropriating in this year to pay bills of prior years. And then other budget items related to this year. And then at the bottom of page 2, and we'll probably reformat that a little bit, we move into fiscal year 14. We start with the revolving funds, and then the transfers, the appropriations from receipts reserved. Those two articles used to be all broken up as individual articles. So under the revolving accounts, we used to have 6 different six different articles. Under the receipts reserved for appropriation article, which is Article 13, we used to have 5 different articles. We've consolidated those all to try to move things along a little bit. And then a variety of fiscal year 14 related items. A couple of highlights, I won't go through them all unless the board would like me to. We've got the Article 16, which is the $600,000 borrowing by North Middlesex Regional School District for the repair, or replacement rather, of the septic system at Hawthorne Brook and Squanicook Early Childhood Center. I'll talk about that again under 311 in terms of the debt service.
That would be under a debt exclusion, Andy?
Yeah, that's what we're anticipating.
So no, just so that people, a debt exclusion, once the bond is paid off, it's not a permanent increase in the tax.
Correct.
Tax rate. It's, once that's paid off, it reverts back to what it was prior to that.
Correct. Article 17 I'll bring to your attention. It is related to the bond payment, the debt service payment on the Spalding School. We've been, as you'll recall, setting aside money for the debt service on that project, on the roof project. We've been putting that in the capital stabilization account. We'll be transferring under Article 17, $203,500 for the debt service. The only reason we're doing that separate from the regular budget item, which is Article 18, is because stabilization account transfers in or transfers out require a 2/3 vote. So we thought it would be cleaner to separate that one out. Article 18 is the operating budget, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. We're still finalizing that. Article 19 is the Water Department operating budget. Article 21 is a sort of a placeholder for collective bargaining agreements. We're in negotiations with all four of our unions. We currently do not have agreements in place with any of them. We may by the time we get to town meeting, so we've put that placeholder in there in case we get to that point.
And if we don't, we'll just pass over it?
Correct. 22 and 23 are appropriations to stabilization accounts, the regular stabilization and the capital stabilization. At this point, we don't expect to take any action on those. We typically do that in the fall. 24 is the capital article, and then the next section is a series of bylaw amendments. I'll draw your attention to 27, which is the what I refer to as the street opening permit, the permit to excavate or occupy a street. We had talked about this a couple of months ago, and I think I overthought it at the time, and so what I did was I just went back and played around with it and tried to simplify the approach. Really what we're trying to do is to is to take the burden of issuing the permits off the board's hand and transfer that to the highway superintendent. So what we've added is where it says by the Board of Selectmen, we've added or its designee. You can keep it the way it is, or you can transfer the permitting process to the highway superintendent if you wish to try to streamline things a little bit. I think it's a simpler approach.
And does that, I don't have a problem about changing that, I just want to make
It
sure.
still puts the supervision of that work under the highway superintendent.
And that will include a reinspection of any work done to the satisfaction of the
Yeah,
highway superintendent, so that we don't have the situation we have with
correct.
several streets in town?
That's correct. Couple of other bylaw amendments, personnel. 29 is one that may or may not stay. I need to talk to council a little bit more on that one. It's an old statutory acceptance that it appears we never accepted, and we may need to accept it in order to just close the loop.
Hold on, Andy. Andrea?
Back on the agricultural commission, you have those points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Which, where is
Oh, what number, Andrea?
It's an article,
25.
5.
It really starts on the top of page 6.
Right. Is it going to, are those going to stay in there like that? Excuse me. Because they don't read very well as they stand.
I agree.
Thank you.
It's what we were.
Sooner or later.
It's what we were given. I think it could be cleaned up a little bit. So thank you for bringing that to my attention, and we'll look at that and see if that can be dressed up a little bit.
Thank you.
where were we?
Oh, let's see.
29.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Glad somebody's paying attention.
I just lost my place. Who's paying attention?
No, I'm glad she was paying attention, because I lost my place too, so. And then we're into charter amendments. 31 is what we talked about a couple of minutes ago with the collector, so what you see there will disappear, and what was on that email will go in its place. And then there's a catch-all for the work of the Charter Review Committee, that they'll be able to present the typos and grammatical changes that they talked about. And then finally is a land acquisition on Main Street that we talked about a couple of weeks ago with Leslie Gabrielska. And that is it. So we're at 33 articles now. I don't expect anything to be added.
Hey, Andy, did we ever hear back from the charter folks making a presentation?
I spoke with the moderator a few weeks ago, and he told me what his thoughts were on the charter amendment and the presentation. And so that article is intended to give us the leeway to address that.
Okay.
Assuming that they're ready to go forward. Like I said, I'll have the final warrant for the board's approval and signature at the next meeting, and try to get that taken care of and close that loop. Town meeting, for those not paying attention or who've lost track of where we are on the calendar, is 4 weeks from tonight, May 7th. At 7 o'clock.
On Article 7, which is the use of monies from far put money into this year, but how, are you gonna break that down? How are you going to construct that article?
How will we construct the motion?
Yeah, no,
Or-
is the article, because the article, well, it doesn't say who or what, as it is.
You mean Article 6 or Article 7? 7 is the cutting of trees.
Yeah, 7 is trees.
Yep. Is that the one you mean?
No,
The one before it?
yeah.
Okay.
So which article are you referring to?
So Article 6 is a catch-all. We've got a couple of departments that we know need some additional funding this year. The clerk, I believe, needs money for elections. We thought that the veterans agent was going to need additional funding for veterans benefits. I'm not sure if that's still the case. Things have tapered off a little bit. But we put a catch-all article on so that we can make any budget adjustments that we need to make.
So how will you, I don't understand how it's gonna be handled.
Well, the article will be, unless the board changes it, the article will be as it's written now.
Yeah.
And then the motion would be, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate blah, 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 the following amounts in the following line items.
I thought.
So town clerk elections, X number of dollars, veterans benefit, X
Kind
number
of
of
like you
dollars.
did this one.
So itemized.
Yeah, it'll be
More
itemized.
like that.
Yeah, it'll be itemized.
But it won't be itemized in the warrant.
Right, in the same way that we don't itemize the operating budget or the capital budget. We just say, transfer or and appropriate a sum of funds to defray the operating costs.
All right, we don't do that for old bills. Do we have any?
I'm aware of one at this time, about $215, I think. But similarly, we keep that as a general structure. That's Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow, or transfer a certain sum for the purpose of paying prior year bills.
The only reason I asked about that one is, one of the problems apparently that we are all trying to work on now is getting people interested. And that article isn't very informative. So, I asked. I understand your reasoning though, that's.
Yeah, no, and I can't argue too much with your point. My concern is, or the reason that we make the articles general is so that we have flexibility right up to the end.
Right,
It-
right, yeah.
You know, if we said to pay the following prior year bill, somebody would come forward after we post the warrant and say, oh, I got a prior year bill, and would have to wait till November.
Well, see, not only, I can understand that, the lineage, but it's hard to read it and even know what it's about
Mhm.
for the public. So.
Yeah, well,
that
we
would
can,
help some.
we can try to improve on that language to be a little more informative.
Well, the first time you do something new, like we are this year, you have to expect those kinds of things to crop up.
Mhm.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, 3.10, intermunicipal agreement, review and approve intermunicipal agreement with the town of Dunstable for shared accounting services.
I spoke with the board a few weeks ago about this. The town of Dunstable recently lost their accountant. They know our accountant, and they like our accountant very much, for good reason. And so in a conversation really on a different topic with a finance committee member and a selectman over there, that I was having some time ago, we said, is there a better way to skin this cat? And so what what we decided to do was to put together an intermunicipal agreement for accounting services, where our accountant would be paid through Townsend. She would work the same number of hours she works here, which is 20 hours a week. She would be also working 10 hours a week in Dunstable. Dunstable would reimburse us for the cost that they would otherwise pay her directly. So we increase, we increase our appropriation to cover the full cost, the 30 hours of accountant. They're also paying a portion of her benefits. The benefits are paid by us now. They don't pay any. They don't pay any of the benefits. So we were able to negotiate an amount that offsets a small amount of the benefit cost to us, and I think works to our advantage, works to Dunstable's advantage. The Board of Selectmen in Dunstable voted last night in favor of the agreement that's in front of you tonight, and I'm asking that the board do the same. This would be really in effect on July 1. It's really intended to be for fiscal 14 and 15, but there is a provision in there for an interim period that would cover through the end of this current fiscal year.
So as I understand it, they're simply paying 1/3 of benefits and salary?
They're paying a little less than a third. They're paying about $3,200 out of the benefits. They're paying a 1-to-1 for the salary piece to them. So they're going to be paying us about $20,000, which is a piece of the benefits plus the salary. The salary is $16,667. They've agreed to pay $3,224 in benefits.
So we're already providing benefits, so
We're already paying that, so
We're already
that's,
paying that
that's a
anyway.
net benefit for us.
So that's
Net
really
savings.
where the advantage is, is
Yeah.
in the benefits section.
Right.
Correct.
Comments from the audience? I saw some interesting looks. Anybody?
How would her insurance work? Would that be
She's
covered here also?
Yeah, she's covered here now,
Yeah?
and, or eligible here now, and would remain eligible here.
Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Anybody? Andy, were you saving money?
We will be saving a couple of $1,000.
Oh, I ain't saving money. Hey, in case you guys didn't know that, you know, money.
I never saw you
noticed
smile so
that.
fast in my life.
I've noticed that.
I gotta tell you.
Warms the cockles of your heart.
Yes. Okay.
Do you need a
Yes, we did.
Shall we'll be signing this tonight, I assume?
Yes.
Ready? Okay. I make a motion, we review, approve, and sign, we approve and sign the intermunicipal agreement with the town of Dunstable for shared accounting services. To
Second.
be effective July 1st?
Well, effective today, because there is an interim provision.
Okay, I will amend my motion to reflect, it will be effective today.
second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 3.11, Hawthorne Brook Middle School Septic System Construction, update on cost and borrowing.
I made reference to this a few minutes ago. The school committee for North Middlesex has voted, they voted a couple of weeks ago to incur debt for the Hawthorne Brook Middle School septic system. They voted to incur $600,000, and it requires the approval of the towns in order to authorize the borrowing. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, I expect that we will want to do a debt exclusion on this. There's not a great hurry to do so, so I didn't rush to get this before you in order to put it on the town election ballot. We are unlikely to have to pay a principal payment until probably fiscal 15 at the earliest, and maybe 16. 14, I don't think there'll even be an interest payment, and with luck, there'll just be an interest payment in 15. We're looking at options on how to structure it. We have a 5-year and a 10-year option. Obviously, the interest will be a lot less on a 5-year, and we'll be working with the finance team to look at the impact and the best way to go forward. And we need to work with Ashby as well. Ashby and Dunstable are the towns that are responsible. Pepperell is not responsible for this project.
Ashby and Townsend.
Ashby and Townsend. And so we need to work with Ashby to make sure that we're on the same page.
So, Andy, just a quick question on that.
Mhm.
They, as a matter of course of action, always go out and get how many bids for this project?
Well, it's a procurement process, so they'd be getting 3 bids at least. Well, they have to put it out to 2 bids, so they could get 50 bids. So, but yeah, it's subject to the Procurement Act. So.
Where are they going to put it?
Out in the back, using the probably using the field back there that is in existence now. They're decommissioning the treatment plant, and
Decommissioning, sounds like a workshop.
And there is a leach field there now that I think they're going to tear up and reconstruct, and then they'll put it in a new system, new septic system.
Andrea?
Is the $600,000 just our portion, or is that the total project?
That's the total project.
Okay. The other thing, considering how people are, and considering we just got heard with the schools, I think the sooner we get this out, we voted on at town meeting and at an election, better off we will be, because we may have to do it more than once if we're going to pass. I don't think the taxpayer is any more prone to an exemption as they will to an override.
Well, only that I just wanted to respond to what you said. I think no one wants to pay more taxes, but I think what might make it more palatable to the voters is the fact that it's a debt exclusion and it's not a permanent increase.
Well, see, it depends on the way. A debt exclusion goes away, so it depends on how many years it is. The chief talked about the fire station for 40 years. That's forever. I mean, yes, in 40 years it'll go away, but that still is.
But aren't we
forever.
looking at this for either 5 or 10?
For me, if this was 20 years, it would be the rest of my lifetime probably.
Well, I don't see it being 20 years.
But,
No,
you know,
we're looking at
people
either
look
5.
at it that way.
Right.
If 10 years to us may seem like a reasonable amount, 10 years to the taxpayers to have it go away may not.
I like it into a mortgage. You start off and you're like, So,
I wondered if it would be ready enough to have with the June 25th election. I think there's enough time if it passes a town meeting. Or
Yeah, you'd end up having to do another double election.
Pardon me?
You'd have to do another double election, so you'd
Right.
have
But
the
the
Senate
ballot that we're
ballot.
having in June is going to have a Democrat and a Republican on it. And then we could do, a paper ballot for a debt exclusion.
Yeah, we can look at that.
I was just a little confused. You said the whole project was 600,000, but Ashby's responsible for a portion of it. Would they have to, is it enough for them to have to override? How are they gonna break?
They may, but their decision to do a debt exclusion doesn't affect us. If they have funds to pay it,
I'm just wondering why we're appropriating the entire amount.
we have to vote to confirm the authorization of the school department to do the borrowing.
So it would just be
The
assessed.
total
So it'll
amount.
be the same as like the roof, we're just gonna be assessed.
Yes, yeah, for the roof, we had to appropriate
No,
the
that's fine. I was just a
entire
little
amount.
confused, I don't know what was gonna be.
With the three schools, it just suddenly occurred to me, the three schools being involved in it, not that close. Two.
Yep.
Townsend and Ed. Okay. So then, if they don't want to do it, if they vote not to do it, and we vote to do it, are we deadlocked again?
No.
No?
For borrowing, I believe you need I think it has to be unanimous among all the communities.
I think we wouldn't be stuck, but we'd be deadlocked.
Well, oh yeah, we'd be deadlocked, but we wouldn't have to eat the whole cost.
No, I wasn't thinking about that.
Okay, I
I just
misunderstood.
meant about moving forward.
Yeah, no, if they vote no, I think they're stuck.
Right.
So-
If it's approved at town
Not
meeting in
no, but
both communities,
going
it goes
nowhere.
forward.
So I have a question. If the septic system has failed, right? It must have, if they need to replace it. Doesn't it get to a point where the kids can't go to school there?
There's what's known as a consent decree with the DEP.
So what are they
The-
doing? Going in and cleaning it every
Well,
3 months or something?
it doesn't treat adequately right now for nitrogen. The nitrogen discharge percentages changed a couple of years ago, or a few years, I forget exactly when. This plant doesn't remove enough nitrogen to meet the DEP requirements, so DEP has said, North Middlesex, you have to fix this. There was some sort of an enforcement action that DEP took against the school department. They entered into a consent decree a couple of years ago, and this is the process.
So is that to say that the thing isn't necessarily failed as much as it is they say it has to work differently now?
It doesn't meet, the effluent doesn't meet the discharge.
What a hose job, I tell you.
Was it the issue basically that they didn't have the volume that they needed to have the system function the way it was designed?
Yeah, that's part of it.
And that's what contributed to the.
And there's no way to
Go.
manufacture that
But
volume.
my
Right.
point is this, okay? At some point in time, the time is going to be up,
Yes.
okay?
That time is this year.
The time is this year. So they could come in and say, you may not occupy that school because you've passed that time period. So how is that any different than, I mean, I have a home and I need a new septic system. You know?
Right.
I don't think we have a choice.
We don't really have a choice.
Where are we gonna put all those kids, you
The
know?
question is, the question really boils down to,
Half day, send them home to go to the bathroom. I mean, really, you know?
the question really boils down to, are you gonna do a debt exclusion to pay for it, or are you gonna pay for it out of the general fund?
Exactly, I mean,
Does the school department get to make that decision, or
No.
the member towns do?
Each town can do it however they wanna
we
do
can
it.
pay for it any way
Our
we
portion
want
of
to.
the, our portion of the,
Our portion of it.
They're not
Okay.
really responsible.
But-
I can live with that.
But
But I guess my point is the discussion that started, you know, Andrea, you said, you know, I don't think people are gonna like this idea. Well, I didn't like it when my septic went, you know?
Oh, no.
I had to have my whole backyard dug up.
I agree, but I mean, that's why I don't think that they would object to the idea of the septic. I think they would object to the idea of an override, and if that's how we want to handle it.
An override or a debt exclusion.
A debt exclusion is a type of override.
That's right.
a temporary one.
So,
Yeah.
is there a suggestion of another way to pay for it than a debt exclusion?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think this is, well, we could take monies from places, we could borrow, we could do a number of things. However.
It's a lot of money.
If you want to pursue it that way, that's fine. I just we have to be aware of the pitfalls or possible pitfalls. That was all.
Yeah, the biggest pitfall is that the school ends up not being inhabitable.
Or we didn't plan well enough and can't afford it, you know, or can't get it done in a timely fashion because we didn't set ourselves in progress correctly.
So I really just want to know what other alternatives we would have.
Borrow. Take it from
We could
civilization.
borrow without the benefit of a debt exclusion. We could borrow with the benefit of a debt exclusion. Or we could pay for it, you know, as we have free cash, set it aside. Or, you know, some other approach.
How much do you think Townsend will be responsible for? Do you know what kind
It's
of?
about 400, if we do the 5-year, well, the principal is about 460,000. If we, either way we do it.
3 communities, and we're on the hook for how much?
No, two. Two, Ashby and.
Okay.
So Townsend's share,
It's 259.4.
Townsend's share is $460,000. If we do a 5-year borrow, we're gonna be on the hook for about $15,000 in interest. If we do a 10-year borrow, we're gonna be on the hook for about $50,000 in interest.
Do you guys have a copy of this?
How much do we have left in capital stabilization after our vote? I know it came in under.
I don't know offhand.
Might be able to use some of that.
Okay,
Well, we
so-
still get 3 more years.
But what you need right now is simply,
This is-
okay,
this
yeah,
is just-
school committee, we know you did
This
this.
is just informative
The latest
backup for
and
the warrant article.
So somebody,
So no
and a whole bunch of
motions
somebody's
necessary.
might be able to come up with some different alternatives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. 3.12, one-day special license, approve one-day license for John Forers of VFW Post 6538 for a Jack and Jill party on May 11th, 2013, from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Make a motion, we approve a one-day license for John Fords, VFW Post 6538, for a Jack and Jill party on May 11th, 2013, from 8 p.m. to 12 a.m.
Second?
Motion's made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. One-day special license, approve one-day license for John Forers, VFW Post 6538, for a 70th birthday party on May the 4th, 2013, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Make a motion, we approve a one-day license for John Fords, VFW Post 6538, for a 70th birthday party on May 4th, 2013, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What?
Oh, no.
Okay.
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 Okay, 3.13, fiscal year 14 budget, discussion of fiscal 14 budget.
I don't have a lot to talk about on this tonight. I'll be updating the budget spreadsheet at some point in the next couple of weeks. I'd like to lead the board through a more detailed review of the budget. I don't know if you want to do that at your next regular meeting in 2 weeks, or if you want to do that on an off week and devote a whole evening to it. I'm not sure we need a whole evening, but what I gave out to you a couple of weeks ago hasn't changed a whole lot. There've been a couple of adjustments. Some contractual items changed. The stipend employees changed. We'll have to make an adjustment based on the accounting agreement that we talked about earlier, a few other things. But however the board would like to approach the budget.
Personally, I'd like to tack it on to a regular meeting rather than have a separate meeting just for that. I think it ultimately, you know, we all lead busy lives, and I would just in the interest of time, I think would ultimately save us time.
That's my preference as well.
Okay.
I don't have a preference. I'd be okay either way.
I'm trying to get you an extra meeting.
Oh, yeah, I'm like, I don't mind, give me, get it in, you got me till the 30th.
We'll meet every night till you're done.
If that's what it takes.
Okay, we'll put it on, right now, the agenda for the 23rd doesn't appear to be too long. We'll
We
put that
came,
on top of it.
last Friday on the finance committee, that's one of the questions we had. We had some increases in some of the budgets and expenses, and we weren't sure if you guys had approved them, before we recommend anything. We wanted your input before we agreed to the expenses, the additional expenses.
Well, the budget that was distributed a few weeks ago and that the Finance Committee has is the recommended budget that I prepared for the board. It reflects changes in some cases that were made by, or increases that were proposed by the departments. In other cases, increases or changes that I recommended. We moved, one example I can give you is we moved some money around from the accounting and the collections department and put it into MIS for annual software support. I think if we do the budget in 2 weeks, we're still 2 weeks away from town meeting, and so it should leave enough time for a full discussion and evaluation of alternatives.
Wayne, you'll be at the next FinCom meeting, right?
Yes. I think Carolyn's point is they want to make sure that their recommendations are based on what the board is going to recommend.
We don't want to make a recommendation until we know that you've agreed to the additional costs.
How substantive, I mean, is it a lot, is it a little?
It varies. There are some things in the selectmen's budget associated with the contract. There are items in, as I mentioned, in accounting and MIS. In some cases, it's just moving money from one department to another department. It's not an increase per se. It's pretty straightforward, I think.
You don't want to do another meeting next week? The only thing.
I would prefer not to, if we can avoid it.
And I'd prefer not to as well. But I'll be honest with you, my biggest concern is making sure that all of the numbers are solid, at least a week in advance of the town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I'm concerned that we're running out of time to do that. So I would prefer that we meet next week and go through it all. That'll give the Finance Committee time to respond to it and us time to solidify it and double check everything. That's my opinion.
I'm fine with another meeting, we just restrict it to that, like,
That one
this.
topic. That one topic, and that's it.
Regular time? Or-
It's just that we're running out of time.
No, I understand. I understand your
2 weeks
point.
go, you know, 2 weeks is 2 weeks, you know?
well, plus the other thing too, tying it onto another meeting, we could be here forever. Not that that would be a problem, but.
No, it would be, I have to work the next
problem.
day.
Yeah. It's fine, I mean.
I mean, I'd prefer that if you can
Okay.
get it
It's
together.
kind of hard to difficult to estimate how much it can be. You know, we could set aside a certain amount of time for the meeting, but we never really know.
Do you want to meet at the regular time, or do you want to meet earlier? Do you prefer 7, or do you prefer something earlier?
I'm fine with either, or I'm fine with
Either
6.
way, I don't care. What do you
You
prefer?
want to do 6?
We do 6, just in case. you know.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll be meeting 6 o'clock next Tuesday, the 16th,
Yep,
and you'd like it televised?
sure.
Okay?
If you're available, Hartley, that would be great.
I'm always available for you guys.
Oh, wow, we do appreciate that.
You're spoiling us, Hartley.
Bring some soda.
You're spoiling us.
Just as long as the school committee doesn't spring.
We'll tell Mike on the way.
We understand, we'll be
Assuming,
second
Andrea,
fiddle.
that
I
works?
guess they like that.
I think so.
That works for you guys?
Yeah, that'll give us more time to go over and appreciate it.
Okay, I guess we'll continue that next week.
Okay.
Alrighty, 4.1, vote to approve the hiring of Susan Bresnick as Department Assistant to the Town Accountant, effective April 9th, 2013.
As I mentioned recently, Kathy Jastrad has retired from the accounting department, and Kim advertised and has recommended Susan Bresnick as the department assistant for this position.
Make a motion, we vote to approve the hiring of Susan Bresnick as Department Assistant to the Town Accountant, effective April 9th, 2013.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4.2, vote to appoint Kevin Smith to the Town Properties Committee with a term from April 9th, 2013 to February 28th, 2014.
I make a motion, we vote to appoint Kevin Smith to the Town Properties Committee with a term from April 9th, 2013 to February 28th, 2014.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5.1, Board of Selectmen updates or reports.
I have something. As many of you are aware, Mr. James Klisch, 72 West Elm Street, died on Wednesday, March 27th, 2013 at Genesis Westford House, Westford. Nick and I and Mr. Sheehan attended the service this past Saturday, and I'd just like to read his obituary for folks who either may not know certain things about him, or for those of you who, for some reason, I'm not aware of his passing. Mr. Klisch was born in Boston, August 2nd, 1940, the son of Charles and Lena, parentheses, Greeno Klisch, and has resided in Townsend for 50 years. He grew up in Air and was a 1958 graduate of Air High School. For the past several years, Mr. Klisch worked at Moore Enterprises in Townsend. Previously, he worked nearly 30 years at the Horn Packaging Company in Air, and in the 1960s to 70s was a sergeant in the Townsend Police Department. An active member of the Townsend Congregational Church, he held several positions with the church, including church moderator, trustee, as well as serving on the church outreach ministry. He was a founding member of the Townsend Ecumenical Outreach Program. Townsend Ecumenical Outreach, parentheses, TEO, is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization that provides emergency and temporary assistance to Townsend residents. Since its inception in 1984, Jim served as the organization's president and currently was serving as chairman of the board of directors. He was also instrumental in bringing Habitat for Humanity to the Fitchburg/Leominster area and served on its board for many years. Throughout his lifetime, Mr. Klisch was the recipient of many awards and achievements. He was awarded the True Grit Award in 1995, the Haystack Award in 1996, and the Fitchburg State College's 100 Men Who Have Made a Difference. He was also the recipient of the Service and Leadership Award from the Neshoba Valley Chamber of Commerce and the William E. May Endowment Award in 2004. Mr. Klisch also served on the building committees for both the original Townsend Senior Center in 1997 and for the construction of the Fellowship Hall of the Townsend Congregational Church. He was also a member of the Sandy Pond School Association in Air. Mr. Klisch enjoyed purchasing and restoring bicycles for children and truly felt that every child should have a bike. He leaves his wife of 34 years, Christine F. Gooden Klisch, a stepson, Stephen J. Hoole, and his wife Susan of Salem, Virginia, 3 step-granddaughters, Victoria Hoole of North Carolina, Nicole and Alexandra of Virginia, a stepson of Utah, and a step-great-granddaughter, Kayla Hoole of Utah. He also leaves several cousins, including Laura Spicer of Colorado and Ron Greeno of Michigan. It goes without saying the town is going to certainly miss Jim Klisch. You know, when you meet him, all he talked about was helping people, and It's a great loss for the town, and his condolences to Chris, Clarish's wife. So, I don't know if
I'll
anyone's added anything.
further out on that, Bob. Attending the funeral on Saturday and, looking around the audience, when the town loses somebody who's done so much for so long for so many other people, it's a significant loss to not just the community, but, as a whole. And it certainly puts things in perspective that, that there's some things that are important and people who give so much. It is in fact a tragic loss and a loss to the community.
Nick, on that, on that line, I'd like to just acknowledge the generosity of the employees here. We, some people started a collection after Jim passed, and employees donated about $100 to TEO in Jim's name. So he clearly had a long reach and touched a lot of people, and our condolences go out to him and his family and everybody who knew him.
All right. 5.2, town administrator updates and/or reports.
Only thing I have tonight is on the high school project, the building committee has been holding a number of visioning sessions, and the next one is going to be on May 15th at 6:30 p.m., and that'll be at the high school.
What kind of sessions?
Visioning.
Oh, I think you said fidgeting.
No, that would be the way my voice alters the sound of words.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
They've also,
Never-ending
I think
cold.
they're planning on coming and doing a report. I think the superintendent was going to be talking to you about that.
Yes.
A report for town meeting, committee report.
Okay. 5.3, review signed payroll warrant.
I make a motion, we review signed payroll warrant out of session.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 5.4, review signed bills payable warrant.
I make a motion, we review and sign bills payable warrant out of session.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:37.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Good night, folks.